Hello students, hope you all doing well. I am Shulbha Sharma and today I am going to teach you English reader of class 5, lesson 5, Peter and Wendy. Lesson 5, Peter and Wendy. This is the story written by a Sir James Matthew Barrie. Now, students, you all will read the chapter along with me from your textbook. The night lights by the beds of the three children went out one by one. There was another light in the room now, 1,000 times brighter than the night lights, going in and out of all the drawers in the nursery, looking for Peter's shadow, rummaging the wardrobe and turning every pocket inside out. It was not really a light. It made this light by flashing about so quickly. But when it came to rest for a second, you saw it was a fairy, no longer than your hand, but still growing. It was a girl called Tinker Bell, dressed in a leaf gown. A moment after the fairy entrance, the window was blown open by the breathing of the little stars, and Peter dropped in. He had carried Tinker Bell part of the way, and his hand was still messy with the fairy dust. Tinker Bell, he called softly, after making sure that the children were asleep. Tink, where are you? She was in a jug for the movement and liking it extremely. She had never been in a jug before. Oh, do come out of that jug and tell me, do you know where they put my shadow? The loveliest tinkle as of golden bells answered him. It is the fairy language. You ordinary children can never hear it. But if you were to hear it, you would know that you had heard it once before. Tink said that the shadow was in the big box. She meant the chest of the drawers, and Peter jumped at the drawers, scattering their content to the floor with both hands. In a moment he had recovered his shadow, and in his delight he forgot that he had shut Tinker Bell up in the drawer. If he thought at all, but I don't believe he ever thought, it was that he and his shadow, when brought near each other, would join like drops of water, and when they did not, he was surprised. He tried to stick it on with a saw from the bathroom, but that also failed. A shudder passed through Peter, and he sat on the floor and cried. His sob woke Wendy, and she sat up in bed. She was not alarmed to see a stranger crying on the nursery floor. She was only pleasantly interested. Boy, he said kindly, why are you crying? Peter, having learned the grand manner at fairy ceremonies, rose and bowed to her beautifully. She was much pleased and bowed beautifully to him from the bed. What's your name? He asked. Wendy Moira Angela darling, she replied. What is your name? Peter Pan. It did seem a comparatively short name. Is that all? Yes, he said rather sharply. He felt for the first time that it was a short name. I'm sorry, said Wendy Moira Angela. It doesn't matter, Peter replied. She asked where he lived. Second to the right, said Peter, and then straight on till morning. What a funny address. Peter had a sinking feeling. For the first time, he felt that perhaps it was a funny address. No, it isn't, he said. Then Wendy saw the shadow on the floor, looking so daggled, and she felt sorry for Peter. How awful, she said, but she could not help smiling when she saw that he had been trying to stick it on with the soap. Fortunately, she knew at once what to do. It must be sewn on, she said. I shall sew it on for you, she said, and sewed the shadow on to the Peter's foot. I dare say it will hurt a little, she warned him. Oh, I shan't cry, said Peter, who was already of opinion that he had never cried in his life, and he clenched his teeth and did not cry, and soon his shadow was behaving properly. Peter was now jumping about in the wildest glee. Alas, he had already forgotten that Wendy was the one who attached his shadow. He thought he had attached the shadow himself. How clever I am, he crowned. Oh, the cleverness of me. Wendy was shocked. You conceited boy, she exclaimed with sarcasm. Of course I did nothing. You did a little, Peter said carelessly and continued to dance. A little? She exclaimed, and she sprang into bed and covered her face with the blankets. So, students, I hope you all read the chapter. Now, I will tell you the explanation of this chapter. So, this is a story about a young boy, Peter Pan, who was very mischievous and spent his never-ending childhood on the far-away magical island of Neverland with fairies, pirates and mermaids. He occasionally visited ordinary children too. One night, as Peter listened to Mrs. Darling read bedtime stories to her children, Wendy, John, Michael, Nana, their dog, entered and sprung at Peter. Peter escaped, but his shadow got left behind. Peter waited till the children were asleep and returned with the fairy Tinker Bell to find his shadow. Tinker Bell helped Peter in searching his shadow, and Tinker Bell found the shadow in the chest of drawers. Peter Pan jumped into the drawer and tried to soothe his shadow himself with the soap, but failed. Peter sat on the floor and cried. His sobs woke Wendy, and she sat up in the bed. Then he met Wendy, who felt sorry for Peter. Wendy saw the shadow on the floor looking so draggled, and she felt sorry for Peter. Wendy helped him and sewed his shadow, but Peter was jumping about in the wildest glee. He had already forgotten that Wendy was the one who attached his shadow. He thought he had attached the shadow himself and praised himself about his cleverness. Wendy was shocked, and she sprang into bed and covered her face with the blanket. So, students, I hope you all understood the chapter. Now, there are word meaning from the chapter. First, nursery, a room for the use of young children. Rummaging, searching untidily through something. Fairy dust, glittery magical powder that fairies have. Chest of drawers, a piece of furniture used for storage that has only drawers. Shudder, a series of shivering and shaking. Ceremonies, formal gatherings to celebrate an important event. Draggled, dirty or wet. I dare say, I dare to say. Clenched, pressed together tightly. Glee, great delight. Conceited, extremely proud of oneself. Sarcasm, saying opposite of what one actually means. So, these are the word meanings. You all have to write the word meanings in your notebook and learn it by heart. Now, there is exercise in which you all have to put the important events in the correct order. First, Wendy woke up. Second, Tinkle Bell found Peter's shadow. Third, Peter bowed to Wendy. Fourth, Peter sat down on the floor and cried. Fifth, Peter tried to stick his shadow on with soap. So students, you all have to do this exercise on your own and write the answers in the comment box. Second exercise is reference to contest. There was another light in the room now, 1,000 times brighter than the night lights, going in and out of all the drawers in the nursery, looking for Peter's shadow. So, there is a questions answers from the reference to contest. First question is, was it a day or night at this time in the story? Its answer is, it was a night as children has gone to bed and this night lights gone out one by one. Second question, what was this bright light? Answer, the light was flashing of Tinker Bell as she moved around quickly. Question number 3, where was Peter's shadow found? Peter's shadow was found in the chest of drawers. So students, you all have to do this exercise in your notebook and write the answers in the comment box. Thank you students.